This case was what made me, Belinda Atkins, want to actually become a demonologist, and also to start writing down each case that I am a part of, to show others what it actually is like to stand face to face with true evil. Most people watch a movie on possessions, hauntings, exorcisms and think one of two things: this is way too far-fetched. It's just mumbo-jumbo, and yes, I tend to agree that most is not real what you see on the television and in horror movies, and it really doesn't show the true impact of what demons can do in people's lives. The true aim of a demon is to turn as many people as they can away from the light and ultimately the bearer of these gifts, God. I say God and people will believe that I am a Christian and I'm some Bible basher, etc. I do not class myself as such. I take and use aspects out of religions and practice them. I enjoy diversity and nature and appreciate creation. The other thing people usually think is this will never happen to me. Well, let me tell you, it can happen to anyone. We are in a daily battle against good and evil at all times. Demons can't interfere in your life, nor can angels unless you let them in. What people don't realize is how easily that can occur. This case I'm about to outline, this is a factual day-to-day account of what occurred. The reason this has impacted on my life so much is because the person possessed is one of my closet friends, and due to this I lost her out of my life. I needed to start writing down each case word for word of what occurred in my own eyes, to shed light on the daily battle we all face and to also show the impact this has on not just the person that's afflicted but everyone around them. In January 2014, Carrie was stating to me that Diane, one of our friends, is acting very strangely. She went away on her own in the New Year break of 2013 to 2014, went for a walk and almost killed herself, but when she was talking about it, spoke about it as if it was nothing. Everyone was concerned. Diane is a lovely lady, friendly to everyone, gets along with everyone. She had gone through a divorce 7 years ago with her ex-husband, but they were still on good terms, as Diane is a likable person. People started talking about her obsessive behavior, is what it was being called. She wanted to be with someone to the point where it was getting obsessive. She met a man and slept with him on the first date, completely out of character for Diane in the first place, and stated that she just wanted sex. This is all she wanted. She then found out prior to going away in the 2013 to 2014 yearly break that the man that she was just wanting to have sex with, nothing more, no commitments, no attachments, that he actually had a girlfriend. Clearly he took her no commitments seriously and was happy to oblige Diane with what she was saying she wanted, just sex. When Diane found out about the girlfriend, she was very upset, talking to everyone about it, going out every weekend whenever she could in hopes to meet someone else. I went out with her myself only once, as I was so too busy and really not interested in being a wingman, feeling way too old and too over the club scenes. Not my thing anymore. When I went out with her, we talked as friends do. Clearly this only sex relationship had a huge impact on her and hurt her in more ways than one. I told her to start to go on internet dating sites, meet up with people for a coffee, get to know them that way, and hopefully something will come out of that. Diane kept inside of 10G, she just wanted sex. This to me was completely out of character, but when someone is hurt, you excuse unusual behavior, because we all know that when we get hurt we can react in ways that don't seem like ourselves. After that night I didn't myself see Diane again. Work family commitments were keeping me distracted. Around the beginning of 2014, I heard through Carrie that Diane is now going to get a boob job and also is going to get a facelift. I laughed at this as it was so not Diane. Diane is a strong, attractive woman who has loads of self-confidence, and I could not believe she would do this to herself. I even said to Carrie that I am concerned. This is just so out of character for her. Carrie agreed with me. I asked Carrie to try to speak with her, as it was a worry that she would want to chop up her body for what I couldn't understand what. Carrie spoke with her and came away from their get-together more concerned than ever about Diane's behaviors, and again the same theme kept coming up: this is so out of character for Diane. Carrie after that then spoke with some of Diane's other friends to see if they felt the same way that we both did, and they were also concerned, saying that Diane wouldn't be aware of anything right now. Around March 2014, Diane had to get together a pre-boob job and facelift drink to say goodbye to her old face and boobs, she called it. I asked Diane, "There, white darling, why are you doing this? There is nothing wrong with you." She just laughed it off, said she wants to do this. In March 2014, Diane had a boob job and facelift. I seen Diane about a week and a half after the procedure. She still had a lot of bruising on her face. I was a little upset that a friend of mine, someone who I thought was a beautiful woman, felt like she needed to do this, to hack into her face and body. That night she came around to Kelly's house to show us the procedure. She was with a man, Stephen. I had never even heard about Stephen prior to this and thought it was strange that Diane is still recovering from her surgery and has a new man just like that. No talking about him prior to that night. I couldn't help but look at him and think, wow, he looks like a mini version of Diane's ex-husband. While we were all talking, having a coffee, catching up, Diane explained that she is now going back for more surgery, this time for liposuction, because she felt that she needs this. I was gobsmacked. Diane is a size 8 woman, not an ounce of fat on her, and I could not understand why, or even why the plastic surgeon would even recommend for her to do this, and I got P90 annoyed thinking, who is this stupid plastic surgeon to tell a size 8 woman that she needs liposuction? Diane passed it off and said she wants it done, not the plastic surgeon, but I was sitting there quite upset. I started to really look at Diane and her new boyfriend. Well, as Diane said later, not a boyfriend, she just wanted sex. Thinking, who is this person, and is he also thinking that Diane does not need any plastic surgery? We never really made eye contact, but I got an uncomfortable vibe from him. Something just didn't feel right about him. I'm looking at Diane with her face all swollen and bruised still from the surgery, and then looking at him thinking, who are you and why would you come into the picture now with Diane like this? Just seems strange to me. While I was thinking these thoughts in my head, everyone went quiet in the room. I looked over at Diane and smiled, thinking, did I just zone out in thought for too long then, as she was looking at me? What I seen next started this investigation. What happened next I could never have seen coming. Diane didn't smile back at me. It was a look I've seen on previous occasions, not often, but when you see this you never forget it. She snarled, baring her teeth, and her eyes went completely black. She was no more than 4 feet away from me. She then turned around and turned back to me, and Diane was back. I thought I just imagined it, but I know I didn't. I looked over at Carrie thinking it couldn't have just been me that seen that, but there was no reactions from anyone else in the room. I knew then that Diane had a demonic attachment. I carried on with conversation, the usual small talk, then left. I went home thinking about everything leading up to this. The fact that I had cleared Diane's house previously of a demonic entity. Has she let it back in, and how is she allowing this thing to keep coming back into her life? The next day Kelly rang me on the phone and I told her what I seen. I didn't mention that I felt that something was also wrong with her new boyfriend Stephen. I asked Kelly to find out if Diane feels that it has come back into her house. Kelly told me it has. She explained that Diane said that it sits at her bedroom door now that she has Stephen over there and growls when Stephen stays over with her in her bed. That it's defiantly back in her house, but Diane is saying that it is fine still and that it just knows like Stephen staying over in her room, so it stands at the door growling, and that also some nights she hears scratching in the walls. We both were upset that Diane really does understands that this is not okay and not good to have in your home. I made it clear that I couldn't clear it this time only because I have done it twice now and she keeps letting it back in somehow, and this time we need to find out how and why she is letting it back in. Kelly said, right now Diane, would the entity even know if Saturn himself was standing in front of her? After that conversation Kelly spoke to Diane's friends. The concern was very real from everyone close to Diane. Diane went back and had liposuction, which I started to panic myself then, to thinking, what more is she going to do? And knowing now that I have seen it myself, that it's not Diane, this is a demonic spirit that is possessing Diane, it showed itself to me. And how far is Diane going to mutilate her body and just have sex with men, as she is stating, before she realizes this is not okay? Or in a moment of clarity, not under demonic influence, how is she going to come out of this and think, shit, what have I done? The tension was real, the urgency was real from everyone close to Diane. The liposuction failed and Diane was obstinate to it, causing a crease in her stomach, and therefore stated she has to go back and get more liposuction to correct this. Friends were calling each other worried for Diane. Kelly organized with another paranormal group to help. Kelly knew these people from in Australia, as previously she had them into her own home and she had activity after a case occurred. I myself was saying to Kelly, look, this is a serious case, it's a demonic case, we don't need quacks in, as I had bad experiences in the past with other paranormal groups, as these people claim to know about the paranormal and don't really help, they in fact in some cases hinder it or make it worse. Kelly convinced me that Brett and his group know what they are doing, he is a demonologist, he's trained. I wasn't completely convinced but was happy to get help for Diane. Friday the 23rd May 2014, it was organized to start the investigation at Diane's house. Diane agreed to this. I met Brett and Yasmin for the first time this night. During the first stage, Diane was interviewed by Brett. While this was happening, everyone there in the house could commented that a smell moved around the room. It smelled like mold and blood and almost like puss is the best way I can't describe it. While Diane was being interviewed by Brett, she stood in her living room the whole time. This was strange behavior again from Diane. It almost appeared like she was a puppet on a string. She was animated while answering and talking about the entity in her house, and her arms were moving around like someone was pulling strings from behind her. She was playing down everything. I am fine, she stated several times, doesn't bother me. I went outside with Yasmin. Kelly, I needed some fresh air as that smell would come and go. While outside we did a burst session with the voice recorder as we all felt it followed us out there due to the fact we could smell it. The voice recording burst session is below. Only a clip of this, my name and Yasmin's name are clearly heard in these burst sessions. It was agreed that Diane and Stephen go out with Hardy Carey boyfriend while we did a walk a drug of the house and bless the house during this. Brett and Yasmin both placed crosses around the house. Upstairs in Diane's bedroom was the worst feeling in the house. It was explained to me that Diane's wardrobe, which was the most uncomfortable spot in the whole house, it had mirrors facing each other on the doors as you enter the walk-in wardrobe area, and was explained that this is like a devil's shoe box to mirrors facing each other. It felt like something was about to be thrown at you while you stood in Diane's wardrobe. You could feel a very strong malevolent presence. While walking upstairs into the bedrooms, I felt almost dizzy. At one point I needed to hold onto the walls to steady myself. Diane and Stephen returned back to the house and we all agreed that we will come back to do the blessing on the people involved another night. On Saturday 24th May 2014, I got a message of Kelly that she was coming around to my house. I texted her back, said no problems, we'll see you soon. This message was at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday. Kelly rang me while I was up the road with family. I told her come round, it's no problem, come round and have a barbecue with us. I explained that my family is here but it's no problems at all. This phone call was at 11 a.m. At 8:41 p.m. I got another text message off Kelly saying walking up now. I thought it was strange. Kelly had been saying all day she was coming but never showed up. At 9:20 p.m. Kelly rang me and said she was at the shops and just wanted to know the bus timetable as she is catching a bus up to my house. I sighed, don't be silly, I'll pick you up. She sighed okay, and that she was just up at Coles. I told her I'll be there in about 10 minimums, just saying goodbye to the family I had over. I was out in front saying goodbye to family and Kelly's mom showed up at my house and asked if I had seen Kelly. I told her no, but I just spoke to her and I am going to pick her up at Coles up the road. I asked Kelly's mom if everything is okay. She said no and that Kelly walked off this afternoon. It was now 9:20 p.m. I had family stop getting into their car and listen as you do, so I just wanted to get them to leave so I could get up the road and find out what's going on, as Kelly had been telling me all day she was coming over and never showed up. This was not normal for Kelly, and the concern in her mom's eyes, I knew something was wrong. I told Kelly's mom that I would call her when I pick up Kelly from the shops and that I am sure she is okay. I had a feeling, thought that everything was definitely not okay. My son and his girlfriend was at my house. I told them I have to go grab Kelly and that they'll probably bring her back here and that I am concerned she has an attachment and wanted them to be aware, so when I brought her back to my house they would basically stay away until I knew what's going on with Kelly. I drove up to the Kohl's supermarket, went through every aisle, Kelly wasn't there. I then phoned her up, this was at 9:45 p.m. asked her where she was. She started crying and said she doesn't know. I asked her where did you walk to Kelly after you left the supermarket. She said she didn't know and she needs to sleep now. I drove around the car park of the shopping center looking for her, couldn't find her anywhere. In the dark corner I spotted someone who was sitting in a dark corner at the back of the Aldi supermarket's car park. I drove up, realized it wasn't Kelly, but stopped the car and thought maybe they seen her walking somewhere. I walked up to this man sitting in the dark with a hoodie jumper on and asked him has he seen the girl tonight walking around on her own. He looked up, and although it was dark, I seen no color in his pupils, just black, and he sighed nothing and smiled. I quickly got back into the car and drove to Kelly's house, worried about my friend and thinking now how dangerous it is for her to be walking around in the middle of the night. The image of the man's face smiling that weird, almost snarling smile at me, I knew this was serious and what was happening with Kelly. I reached Kelly's house a little after 10 p.m. Kelly's mother was beside herself. I asked what has been going on, why is Kelly doing this? She said she didn't know what was wrong. I kept calling Kelly's mobile and it rang, then hung up several times. Party Kelly's boyfriend was driving around looking for Kelly. I rang him and he said she messaged him that she is at a party organized for another friend to come and look also. I grabbed one of the torches from Kelly's house and went to the park at the back of Kelly's house, walked halfway into the park calling her name, trying to find her. I felt a presence behind me, breathing heavily on the back of my neck. I turned around, no one was there. Turned back around trying to keep focus on finding Kelly. The breathing was still happening on the back of my neck. I was calling out Kelly's name. My name was being called back to me. As I called out Kelly, the male's voice responded saying Belinda. I walked back to my car. My son called me and asked what was going on and if Kelly's is okay, as I hadn't come home yet. I explained I am looking for her now, haven't found her. As I was telling him this, the breathing on the back of my neck stopped and the presence left. I could feel it had gone. I hung up the phone, got into the car to drive to another park, and I texted Party, still no sign of Kelly. I texted Kelly, then I got these responses. Party rang me after searching for Kelly and let me know that she is at a church in Macquarie Fields. Right directed me to the church where Kelly was. I parked behind Party, and before I could go over and see that Kelly was okay, Party said he needed to talk to me. Party had just got off the phone to the police to inform them that Kelly has been found. He explained that he has had enough of Kelly's behavior and that she has been like this for weeks. He explained to me that she has been lying a lot and clarified it with me that Kelly actually said to him a few weeks back that she had a severe accident and she was diagnosed with Kelly, an ailment that she has had since childhood, but was just diagnosed with this a few weeks prior to this. Kelly told Party that she was done for negative driving and had her driver's license taken away from her by the police. Party explained that when he went to the police tonight to report Kelly that he found it was a lie. Party was very upset. I could only tell him to hang in there and let's get Kelly home. Don't make any rash decisions, as I believe that Kelly is under demonic influence from Diane's house last night. I explained the fact she has even gone to a church in the middle of the night should tell you Artie there is something more at play here. I walked up to see Kelly. Artie stayed at his car. Party's friend was standing there talking to Kelly. Kelly was having a good conversations, laughing, etc. like nothing was out of the ordinary tonight. Not the fact no one could find her for hours, nothing. Kelly was on the fence line of the church and appeared to be hanging on for dear life. This could have been because she was exhausted, but I didn't believe so to test this out to see if Kelly would come into the church and away from the fence line and off the garden. I asked Kelly, do you see that pew there near the church door? Do you want to come and sit with me on it? Kelly just looked at me and said, I've already sat there, but you go sit there. I was convinced then that the appearance of Kelly being uncomfortable near the church had nothing to do with exhaustion. It was the fact that it was a church, even though she told me that Archangel Gabriel took her to the church via text message. I didn't want to push Kelly. I just wanted her to get into the car and go home instead of roaming around the streets, and if I had have questioned her right then, what worried that she would not have got into the car. I told her I will bring the car around and that she must be tired. I walked back to my car, told Artie I will take her home, went to get into the car, and Kelly and Artie's friend started walking towards me. We got into the car. I offered Kelly to come and stay at my house. She didn't want to, so we went back to her house. She walked past her mother and Artie in the lounge room and went straight to her room. We sat in Kelly's bedroom. I asked what's going on. She didn't really give me an answer. She spoke of Artie people not listening to her, etc. I explained that I think this has to do with Diane's house last night and you have an attachment. She didn't deny this, but I also said that because of your anxiety right now with your diagnosis of KIRE and other things going, it made you an easy target. Kelly agreed with this. I asked her for Brett's number as I didn't have his number as I only met him the night before. I told her I need a number to get Brett and Yasmin around here to help you with this. The anxiety, she needs to just stay calm and not get so angry at everyone around her right now, and that she is upsetting everyone as they don't know what to do or say around her anymore. It was 1:30 a.m. when I left Kelly's house and came home. As I came home, my son and his girlfriend were still awake. They appeared to be quite scared. They asked how Kelly was and I said, "What are you still doing awake?" They explained to me that after they got off the phone to me when I was looking for Kelly at a park, a toothbrush in the bathroom was thrown down the hallway, and they felt like someone was watching them. They closed the bedroom door and could hear footsteps up and down the hallway. Hayden came out of the room thinking at one point that it was me and I was home. He discovered it wasn't and went back into the room. He explained that both of them started to feel very angry and they had to calm down. They tried to just ignore it, and at one point they heard a bang on the door and it was extremely loud. They showed me the door. Photos are on the next page. On Sunday 25th May 2014, I rang Kelly up in the morning and asked her how she was. She told me that she did what I said, which was talk to Artie and talk to her mother, do not feeling like they are listening or caring about her. She said that it made no difference. I was reassuring Kelly, making sure that she was okay. Kelly sent me Brett's phone number after I spoke to her again about getting Brett and Yasmin around to do a house blessing. Kelly agreed that it could only help right now, not hurt her. I rang Brett at 2:30 p.m. as Kelly had rang me crying on the phone, and I drove round to see if she was okay, and when I walked in she was fine, not crying and watching television. As I was exhausted from the night before's events, I went home. As I was driving home, Kelly rang me again crying, saying that she feels so alone and needs help. I told Kelly that I will ring Brett. I think he might need to come round today. After I told Kelly that I would ring Brett, she went into an almost fear-like state. Said no, it will make it worse. I just need to leave it alone. It's the only way that I sleep is that I ignore it. I can't handle that, Belinda. No. I said to Kelly, no, that's not okay. This isn't how it works. What are you in fear of? Then Kelly had to get off the phone. I rang up Brett, explained to him what happened the night before and my concern for Kelly and her behavior right now. It's so erratic. As I was on the phone to Brett, Kelly rang me. I got off the Anthony told him I would call him back. Kelly was in tears saying she needs help. I told her it's okay, I will come round now and I'll get Brett to come round also. Be right there. By phone, Brett backed up and started again round to Kelly's house. As I was driving around to Kelly's house and Brett was coming also, as Kelly was in desperate need of help after her last phone call, crying asking for help desperately. I was convinced that what was in Diane's house was now attacking Kelly. This was so out of character for Kelly, and the behavior and the change in behavior was so extreme. I texted Artie asking him for Kelly's exact address, as I have gone there so many times and actually didn't know the house and number address to give to Brett. I was turning off to go down Kelly's street when Artie texted me back. It was strange. I even questioned if it was Artie. I thought it must have been Kelly who had grabbed it. I reached Kelly's house and went to go inside her gate, and Artie came running out the door. He said, "Belle, you need to leave. You will only make it worse." By this stage I was just angry. I told him to move away from the gate. I am coming in to talk to Kelly. Artie then blocked me from walking in the gate. I yelled at him and said, "Do you really want to sleep with two people right in the bed? Because Kelly is under demonic influence and is already in and out of possession. Are you that blind not to see this?" Brett is on his way also, as Kelly has phoned me crying and saying she needs help. She was a mess, Artie, and what now? You're saying that we will make it worse? Well, think about that, because we can get rid of this thing. Of course it doesn't want to go, but that's all the more reason to finish this today. I don't want another episode like last night. I went to push past Artie through the gate, but he wouldn't let me pass. I was so angry and looked up at him. His eyes were black, no color in them. He didn't snarl but didn't have to. I said, "Fuck you," and walked back into the car. I nearly started crying, thinking fuck is all I could think. Kelly's it's jumping in and out of now, Artie. I had never seen anything so quick and truly malevolent before. As I drove home I rang Brett back nearly in tears, explaining that I was just turned away by Artie, now under demonic influence, and couldn't even get into Kelly's house, and that we couldn't do this today as it won't let us in. I was absolutely exhausted. I had very little sleep on Saturday night. The couple of hours I nailed all of this with Kelly. Then today's Sunday, how quick a hold it had on her in such a short amount of time. The erratic phone calls all day, the up and down of her behavior all day. One minute crying and saying she needs help, then I am in the wrong and I will make things worse. When I asked make what worse, there was no response to that question. I felt like a pawn on a cheese board and I could only think what else was it going to do. I spoke with Brett on the phone. He told me not to go around again tonight. I told him I am exhausted and that he will talk to Kelly and Artie also. At home, me and my son put the movie on and I was just trying to relax. I had only been home for less than a few minutes when the texting messages started, this time from both Kelly and Artie. Brett had rang and told Kelly that she was coming around and I had explained to Brett that I was turned away by Artie. This was the texting message from Kelly when I had just got home and put on a movie to try to relax. There was nothing more I could do today. Every time I went and tried to help, it was rejected in some way. I was feeling defeated and just exhausted by this time. The following texting message was that Artie was on his way around. After I seen that thing in Artie, his eyes black as black, I did not want to deal with Artie at this point. I phoned up Brett and explained the texting messages I am now getting off Kelly. Even Brett found it strange as all of a sudden Kelly wanted him to come round and mind you was waiting for him to come round. While we were speaking, Brett suggested I lock the door and just leave it be tonight. It's all just the game, and I agreed. I went round and locked up all the doors. I liked in this texting message, as you can see, and stated that I was at my brother's. The reason for this was because I could not deal with it anymore tonight. As you can see, Kelly again changes her mind in a matter of less than a minute and says no one asked me, yet I was asked by Kelly to come round, actually not asked, begged to help while she was crying to me on the phone. While I was sending the well, friends don't always say they're coming over, right? Reviewed at the front door. Me and my son were in the lounge room looking out on the front porch. Artie stood at the door looking at the lounge room window, didn't knock, didn't do anything, just stood there. Then Kelly sent the messages that I interpreted as her threatening self-harm. This message actually concerned me so much that Artie was still standing at my front door, and I was actually scared to let a grown man who is a security guard for a living under demonic influence into my house. I didn't know what to do. The whole day was so unbelievable, not just the day, the whole weekend. I thought I should text Artie to see who it was with currently, as it had jumped from Kelly to Artie today. While he was there and myself and my son were looking right at him when I texted him. Although I was actually at home, I stated I was too far away because I was looking at Artie on Marshall Island's front porch staring at my lounge room window. I sent the message. I got a message response immediately back. My face must have gone white because my son asked me, "What's wrong?" I said, "Did you see Artie on my front porch pick up his phone?" He said no. I showed him my phone and the texting message I immediately got back. We both just shook our heads and said, "Who is that on my front porch?" "Then someone that looks exactly like Artie." We actually both walked into my kitchen. We were that uncomfortable.
Now this is where I'll come in and talk about what I had organised. I organised with Kelly that the ecstasy, it will only be herself and Artie and the ecstasy. We would come in, exercise and bless everybody involved, including Artie, as this thing was just jumping around very erratically. We had to do blessings in each house at the same time frame to stop this thing from jumping. When we arrived around there on the Tuesday night, we were shocked to find that there was actually 5 people in the lounge room. Not the 2 that we'd said were allowed, but 5. I put all my stuff back in the car and I got everybody else to. I got Yasmin to bring a voice recorder and we would go and test the waters. When we walked up to the front door, no one knocked on the door, no one welcomed us into the house. Everyone just sat in there talking. We ended up helping ourselves into the house, saying hello to everybody, but no one said hello back. We knew everybody in the room except for one person. There was a lady sitting there in dressed in a witch's cloak. I'm horrified at this point, because I'm thinking I don't know what had been done in this house. Before we'd arrived, at this point I realised that there would be no exorcism tonight, and they were all in there acting like there was nothing wrong and everything was fine, even though nobody even acknowledged our existence when we walked into the house. At that point I looked at Belinda, Yasmin and Michael, who I'd taken around, and I said, "Guys, let's go." We stood up and we left. At that point I realised that we had to walk away from this particular situation. There was no way we could help any further at that point. Then the accusations started. To my concern, later on that particular week, I was contacted by the church that I'm ordained through, and they were speaking to Kelly at that time. And Kelly had come up with all these accusations, and she was insisting that I be removed from the church and that my ordained status be removed, and the allegations were extreme. While the church was talking to Kelly, they were also talking to me. I got Belinda and Yasmin to message them with everything that we had. Now, cutting a long story short, towards the end of that, we finally got through to the church and they realised what was occurring in this particular situation. And it came to my attention that Kelly had actually put her name down to do this particular course that I had done to get ordained through the church. So she was campaigning to have me removed from the church. But when the church realised what had been occurring within this particular situation, Kelly rightfully was removed from the church, was removed from the course, and was no longer able to partake in any of the course. So yes, that is the end of the story in my eyes. Actually, this particular case has resulted in 3 house blessings and 1 exorcism, and I don't believe it's over yet, as there are still numerous people within this situation that are under demonic influence, and sadly I feel this case is long but over.